Some stories don't begin with thunder or fireworks. Some begin softly, with a smile exchanged between two people who don't yet realize that everything in their lives is about to change. This story begins on a warm spring afternoon, in a small, quiet town where nothing extraordinary ever seemed to happen. A place where life moved slowly, where people took their time, and where love, once born, tended to stay for many years. This is the story of Daniel and the girl he loved long after she disappeared from his life. The beginning of something fragile. Daniel was 20, working part-time at a local bookstore while studying engineering. He wasn't special, or rich, or impressive. Just a quiet young man with kind eyes and dreams bigger than his hometown. And then there was Lena. She walked into the bookstore one rainy evening, her hair damp, her cheeks flushed, looking like she had just stepped out of a different world. She wasn't from the town. That was obvious. There was something about her, a lightness, a confidence, a silent storm behind her eyes. She asked him for a book, not a popular one, not a bestseller. She asked for a poetry collection he hadn't heard of in years, letters to the one I haven't met yet. Daniel smiled. She noticed. He found the book. She thanked him, and he didn't know it yet, but that was the moment he fell in love. That evening she stayed in the store until closing time. They talked about books, music, childhood, fears, ambitions, the kind of things you usually keep locked inside. But with her, everything flowed naturally. When she left, she turned and said, "Maybe I'll see you again," and he knew he wanted nothing more. Weeks passed. Lena started visiting the bookstore more often, sometimes buying a book, sometimes pretending she needed one just to talk to Daniel. He looked forward to her visits. Her smile became the highlight of his days. The way she listened, the way she laughed softly at his awkward jokes, it felt like life was opening a door he had been afraid to touch. They started walking home together. Sometimes they sat by the river, watching the water shimmer beneath the moonlight. Sometimes they didn't talk at all, just existed side by side. One evening she whispered, "Daniel, I feel like I've known you forever." He felt the same. Their hands touched, not by accident. And for the first time, they kissed. Soft, warm, careful, like something fragile you're afraid to break. Daniel thought it would last. He believed in forever. But life had different plans. Summer came. The sun burned bright, but something inside Lena dimmed. She became quieter, distracted, often staring into the distance as if someone was calling her from far away. One day, she didn't come to the bookstore. Then the next day, then the next. Daniel found her sitting on a bench by the river, trembling slightly. He sat beside her, silently waiting. She finally whispered, "Daniel, I have to leave." His heart dropped. "Why?" he asked, barely breathing. "My mother, she needs me. We've had problems for years. I didn't tell you everything. I didn't want to ruin what we had." She swallowed. "I'm moving to another city tomorrow. Tomorrow. Not next month. Not next week. Tomorrow." Daniel felt the world collapse under him. He begged her to stay. She cried, shaking her head. "If I stay, I'll break both of us." They stood there, holding each other, knowing they were losing something rare. That night, they walked slowly through the empty streets. Every step felt like goodbye. When they reached the bus station the next morning, she kissed him one last time. A kiss filled with love, fear, regret, hope, all mixed into one. And then she was gone. No promises. No plans, just a memory. Life didn't stop, but Daniel felt like part of him froze in time. He tried to move on. He studied, worked, built routines. But every time he passed the bookstore window, he remembered her standing there, smiling softly. He didn't date much, not seriously. Because how do you give your heart away when it's already somewhere else? Time passed. Years rolled by. Daniel graduated with honors. He moved to a bigger city. He built a small tech company from nothing, working day and night, driven by something he didn't fully understand. Success came slowly at first, then, all at once, his product went viral. Investors came calling. Within 2 years, he became a CEO, earning more than he ever dreamed. People admired him. People envied him. But no one really knew him, because the one person who truly saw him had left long ago. Still, he loved her, quietly, silently. Like a shadow, he learned to live beside. Life has a strange way of returning the things you thought were gone forever. One rainy evening, almost exactly like the night they first met, Daniel ended a long meeting and wandered into a small bookstore in the city. He didn't know why he walked in. Maybe nostalgia. Maybe fate. He browsed the shelves slowly, remembering her, remembering the book she once asked him for. The store was quiet, until he heard the softest voice behind him. "Excuse me, do you know if you have the poetry section here?" Daniel froze. He knew that voice, even after all these years. He turned. His heart stopped. It was her, Lena, older, more tired, more beautiful than ever. She stared at him for a moment, confused, stunned, speechless. Then she whispered, "Daniel." He nodded, unable to speak. They stood there, surrounded by books and memories. Two people who once shared everything and then lost it all. They walked to a quiet cafe nearby, as if no time had passed. But time had changed, both of them. Daniel noticed the small scars of life on her face, the kind that only pain can carve. Lena fidgeted with her hands. Then she said words that broke him in ways he didn't expect. "I never stopped thinking about you." She explained everything. Her mother's illness, her family struggles, her long nights working 2 jobs, her loneliness in the big city, and then her voice cracked. "I wanted to come back to you many times, but I felt I wasn't enough for your life." Daniel reached for her hand. "You were always enough." She looked down. "I heard you became successful. I saw your face in an article once. You looked happy. I didn't want to disturb your life." He laughed softly, a sad laugh. "Lena, none of it ever felt real without you." Tears filled her eyes. They walked together through the city, telling stories, remembering moments, filling the silence of the past years. Daniel realized something. He had grown, changed, matured. But the part of him that loved her never aged. Lena hesitated at every step, as if afraid she didn't belong in his world anymore. But she did. She always had. When they reached the bridge overlooking the river, much like the one in their hometown, Lena whispered, "Daniel, we're not the same people we were." He replied gently, "No, we're better." She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in many years she smiled the way she used to. The smile that once changed his life. Life didn't magically fix itself. There was no fairy tale ending overnight. But Lena stayed in the city. They met again, and again, and again. Some days were beautiful. Some were painful. Some were confusing. They weren't young and naive anymore. But they were honest, older, wiser, ready. Daniel helped her rebuild her life. She helped him find himself again. The part he lost in the pursuit of success. Two shattered hearts learning how to beat together again. One day, months later, they sat on a bench overlooking the city skyline. The sun was setting, painting the world in shades of gold and rose. Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. "Daniel, do you ever wish things had happened differently?" He took her hand. "No," he said quietly. "Because if they had, I might never have found you again." She closed her eyes, breathing softly. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt whole. Not because success filled his life, not because the past disappeared, but because sometimes, when love leaves, it comes back. Different, stronger, real. And this time, they weren't going to let go.